Hello, and welcome to my shot-by-shot breakdown of the first official trailer, finally, for Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. I'm never sure if you should have like the number after the movie or if there should be like a subtitle. Marvel always goes with subtitles, but I feel like they have to be short subtitles because, you really want to, I think that the long titles are not great for metadata, quite frankly. But Let There Be Carnage is a pretty cool subtitle. But anyway, this is a great trailer for a breakdown because that's where this trailer actually really shines. As I said in my trailer reaction, when it comes to shock and awe, it's a bit underwhelming. I think we'll get there. It's just the first trailer. But when it comes to world building and comic book references and a pretty nifty theory about the Venom franchise going forward, well, then this trailer really starts to shine. So we're going to go through it. I'll just tell you up front, the most exciting thing, some of you pointed out that they have the original Daily Bugle logo here, not the one that they've started using for the MCU in the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, when they've changed it to an online vlog from J. Jonah Jameson. This is the original logo, where it's still a New York Post style paper, although here it seems to have this. I guess this is the San Francisco edition. But anyway, if they use the old logo and they're introducing the Spider-Verse idea with Spider-Man No Way Home, well, then Venom could be in the we had thought he was in the Tom Holland Spider world, but maybe he's in the Andrew Garfield one. Or my preference would be the Tobey Maguire one. I would love to see Tobey Maguire. I think he's going to be in whichever Spider-Verse Sony can close a deal for, which is pretty freaking brilliant. Who would you like to see Tom Hardy, a lot of Toms, who would you like to see Tom Hardy eventually team up with? Which Spider-Man? I actually feel he's the best fit with Tobey Maguire. I'll take Andrew Garfield. I don't think that the Tom Holland thing's ever going to happen. I think it's really, the Spider-Verse really helps the Multiverse of Madness, picture and series event Marvel's doing, but it's really a boon to Sony as well, because Amy Pascal tried to get her other characters into the MCU, and Kevin Feige really silently shut her down. But now if she can, get one of these other Spider-Men to stick around after No Way Home, she can continue to make all these movies, and they would be, I think, incredibly popular. I don't know if she could do it with Andrew Garfield. I feel it's got to be Maguire. So I hope the contract negotiations aren't as rough going forward. I hope the first one was the worst. Maybe it's a multi-picture deal. That would be really, really exciting. I would just love that so much. And hey, Amy Pascal, we talk about executives all the time, and some of them go through some rough patches, and no one's gone through a rougher patch than Amy Pascal, with her emails leaking and her saying a lot of bad stuff about people in Hollywood. She got herself fired as the head of Sony Pictures, but she got a producing deal. She stayed in charge of the Spider-Man movies, and she has done such a good job with them and her other films. I thought Little Women was a spectacular movie, and now she also has a Universal deal. She's going to start making some movies over there, but she's not leaving Spider-Man anytime soon. And I think she's doing a great job. All right, so let's break it down. All right, so here we go. So we have our first shot, and I have to say, this movie looks like a direct extension of the first film. And you would think that visually it would change because it's changing directors. But Andy Serkis has made the very strong choice to not add his own visual style to the film and to use what Ruben Fleischer did. Ruben Fleischer is not a director who has a particular style. Like some directors, you could instantly spot their work. Although with Ruben Fleischer, it often has Woody Harrelson in it. But full disclosure, he directed Zombieland 2, which I, of course, had a cameo in, which was amazing. A Ruben Fleischer, awesome guy, going on to work for Sony to do Uncharted with Tom Holland, actually. But he did choose Ruben Fleischer chose a very strong visual choice for the first film, and that's very much seemed like a 1990s comic book movie. And Andy Serkis is continuing with that. And I think I can see two arguments here. The pro is that the first movie was incredibly successful. It made like $800 million worldwide, huge hit in China, very, very successful. So you would continue with that. And then the other thing, but I think the con is that there are some naysayers, and so I think a stronger visual distinction between the two might, very much, signal to people emotionally that this is like at least slightly new. So maybe it would open up their minds to revisit it. I love the first movie. It's crazy we have to discuss this, but that's the world we live in. All right, so there's San Francisco. I think that's a different bridge, though, right? It's just from the other side. I'm not very familiar with the city of San Francisco. It's funny. Shang-Chi also is coming out in September, and it just occurred to me that takes place in San Francisco. What a month! That's insane. All right, so we're back in Eddie Brock's apartment, and he has I'm impressed that Venom follows the rules. There's only one, it seems. So there's this great opening sequence with Venom making breakfast and turning on the radio. Look at his cute little Venom hands. They're so cute. Now, I really love this because this reminds me a lot of Little Shop of Horrors with Seymour and Audrey, too, who also like to eat people, by the way. The parallels, Andy Serkis, this might look like a 90s movie, but Andy Serkis is adding a lot of really timeless and more classic references, which is really, really impressive. So you have the Little Shop of Horrors reference, and then he turns on this classic song, Let's Call the Whole Thing Off, which is famous for the line, you say tomato, I say tomato. Tom Hardy's Venom is a better singer than I am. But anyway, it's a duet. The number's supposed to be a duet, but I guess Venom's going solo on this one. And it's about a couple who can't get along. They're total opposites. They always are arguing and fighting over everything. But the refrain is, it would break my heart never to see you again, basically. So I love it. So I think that's really great. So they're roommates. They have a bond, literally. And so they're trying to live together. Venom, I guess there are a lot of live chickens around there. I guess sometimes, it's like when you feed a snake mice, I guess sometimes Venom likes to go after his food. So, although he's trying real hard, he's making breakfast for Eddie. Although, look at this, farmland. You know how much farmland had to pay for that? That right there is worth so much money. That's how you make a big chunkier movie back right there. That is amazing product placement. So, making a milkshake. It's tough for Eddie. It's important to realize that Eddie still is not getting along with his symbiote. It's an important distinction between him and Cletus Cassidy. All right, so he made this breakfast. I wonder, look at that postcard. That's interesting. Pay attention to that. I'm not sure if it is, but Cletus is actually working on a postcard later on in the trailer from the prison. So I wonder if he's communicating with Eddie. Interesting. But Eddie has his breakfast here. What a slop. Although some restaurants today charge a lot of money for stuff like that. It looks like there's milkshakes and stuff that they like to make, right? And then he's like, would you like some ketchup? Oh, that's great. But he ruined the postcard. That's fantastic. And of course, a sign of things to come with a blood-spattered San Francisco on our future because Carnage is coming. It's really great. It works on multiple levels. So then we have a new song come in, and it is "One is the Loneliest Number That You'll Ever Do." But it says, then the song, these are classic and, songs that have been around for a long time. And I think again, this is the Serkis touch. So 1 is the loneliest number that you'll ever do, but 2 can be as bad as 1, the loneliest number since the number 1. And again, it's like Eddie's very isolated. He's probably shutting everybody off. And he even feels alone, even though there's literally a being who lives inside of him. And so I think that you're going to see that it's actually going to become a detriment for Eddie that he keeps Venom at a distance emotionally. So he's back at the store from the first movie. So we can hear Eddie and we can hear Venom, but no one else can, which is I think it's a little confusing, which is why he has to interpret for other people. But he says hello in Chinese, Venom does. And one of you pointed out, and I think that's true because the movie did so well in China. And in fact, I have the number for you here. It did $269.1 million in China alone. And these days, China seems to almost to be making up numbers. So who knows how this movie could do over there? there's different incarceration facilities spotlighted in this trailer. So the first, of course, is Alcatraz, the famous San Francisco prison. The Rock is such a good movie. And this is where Cletus was being kept in the first film. And remember, the end credit scene was that Eddie decides to go back to being a journalist. He's like a crazy Lois Lane. He decides to go back to being a journalist, and he's going to do some story with Cletus, right? So he's been visiting him in prison, or at least he was, because Cletus says, "I've missed you." So there he is in his prison, and he seems to be at Alcatraz, not Ravencroft, which we'll get to in a moment. Although that is a place that Cletus Cassidy, well, we'll talk about it when we get there. So anyway, he has all this stuff that he's done on the wall, and he says stuff like Phoenix will rise and sweet death. And Cassidy, from the comics, Cassidy is a serial killer who feels that death is a release and a reward for his victims. He feels he's actually doing something good for them. And there he seems to be working on his postcard right there. So they're intercutting to this in a couple of places. I believe that is the postcard that he sends to Eddie. I love it. So much going on here at second and third and fourth, fifth glance. So they're getting ready for the execution, it looks like. Because he's a bad guy. He says, "We're the same, you and I." Now, it's so dark in some of these scenes. So dark. You can't hardly see what you're looking at. And I believe that's to save money on the VFX budget, to be honest with you. Although these days, they used to do that in the 90s because they could only go so far. It was also the skill, not skill, that's not fair to the VFX artists. The technology could only go so far. But now, I just saw Kong and Godzilla punch the living daylights out of each other in broad daylight, so I don't know why we still have this problem where I can't see anything. So they are turning Venom into a good guy. So Venom's like a crazy vigilante. I have mixed feelings about turning these characters into good guys. I'll allow it with Venom. I'm not so sure how I feel about Harley joining the Bat family in the comics, basically. I'm like, what? All right, so Cletus is saying, "We're the same, you and I." Now look, see there, he's looking at the Daily Bugle, Eddie. He's on their website. And then also Stephen Graham, our police officer for this session, is also reading the paper. And he's reading about Cletus Cassidy. Perhaps he's a detective on his case. And we get smushed, and apparently you can see Avengers written there very briefly. I don't know why the Avengers wouldn't be on the front page, to be honest with you. I think, we'll say that maybe that's what it is, but it could be other things, because it seems like Nightmare underneath. So it could be something else up there. We'll see. I don't know. I guess the Avengers have been, at this point have been around for a long time. So I don't know. Let's see. I like the idea of it being a different Spider-Verse with Toby or Andrew. All right, so he said, "We leave people behind waiting for us." And there is Michelle Williams with a fantastic blowout. She looks stunning. They're still not together, and he's very upset about it, even though they are still continuing to go to gorgeous restaurants. Let's have all of our difficult conversations in beautiful restaurants. It'll just make it a little nicer. I'm like, I agree. So there's the Ravencroft facility, which has appeared in other Spider-Man movies. And some of you have said, one of you wrote me and said, I think it was in the Andrew Garfield one. So is it the same universe? Well, it's a different version of Ravencroft. The Daily Bugle logo is the same, so you would think that the two Ravencrofts would look the same. So that's why I'm hoping for the Tobyverse. The Tobyverse! That's what we'll call it. The Tobyverse, the Andrewverse, and the Tomverse. As in Holland. Or maybe we'll call it the Hollandverse because Tom Hardy's also a Tom. But anyway, there's Ravencroft. It's a psychiatric prison where in the comics, Cletus Cassidy was born and also served some time. But there's a different person being held here who does have a relationship to Cletus, and I believe it's his wife, Shriek, played by Naomie Harris, which was already confirmed by the trades when she signed on for the picture. So there she is in her special cell because her powers are sound manipulation. She can manipulate sound, which also for some reason means she can also manipulate emotions, but she can also levitate sometimes because of sound waves. We'll see what they decide to do with her in the movie, but that's her background in the comics. But she definitely has sound powers because not only of the cell that she's in, but you can see that those guards and the guard and the person bringing her food have noise-canceling headphones on, right? She's like, darn it, her arch nemesis is Bose. So she's in there and she has some sort of ring on her finger. And so I believe that Cletus has made it official. So this is really, he's such a great choice because of Natural Born Killers, and of course his dynamic with Juliette Lewis is famous, so it would be great for Naomie Harris to step into that role. And he says, we've left people behind us waiting in the darkness, and the rescuer never comes. So they're alike in a lot of ways, apparently, including they have girlfriends who maybe, who I would love to see Lady Venom come back. I thought Michelle Williams in that brief sequence looked great in the first movie. That wasn't even her, but the visual design was fantastic. So I think Cletus is like, I left my lady friend in the nut house. I gotta go get her. All right, so there's the city, and then so here's Venom is our hero. He's holding a pole. It almost to me looks like a sword in some ways, but it's very cool. Maybe it is. I don't think so. I don't know, but it's cool. And he said, and the rescuer never comes. I think Cletus is coming for Shriek. So there he is working on his postcard, and there's a spider there, and it smooshes it. And of course, it's got a signature red coloring. Even before Carnage comes along, Cletus is partial to the color red because he likes blood so much. We'll explain that in a moment with the Carnage. So he's like, I think this is where he says, I missed you. But he looks great. So Natural Born Killers. His hair looks, I think, a little better here. He's given himself a haircut. It looks great on him. Woody Harrelson. I'm a big Woody Harrelson fan. He's so funny, and he's not only very funny, but he's very good at this type of role as well. He's going to be, I think, phenomenal. His eyes are so blue. Looks like a freaking special effect. I think so. That's incredible. I think they really play that up gorgeous with the suit, with the prison uniform, and then the hair. He's a Technicolor villain. So he's going to be put down. Oh, let's see. Does his pants say what prison he's in? He's in Alcatraz, right? It just says DCR prison. Maybe he'll run past Jared Leto's Joker in the hallway on this prison escape. We both like prison sweats. So there's the families of all of his victims thinking they're going to get closure, but I don't think so. Now, I didn't realize this until I did the shot-by-shot for the breakdown. So there's the poison to do the lethal injection. And then here, I thought the lethal injection caused him to become Carnage. But no, Carnage is about to save his life. Because look, there comes the poison, and then the blood comes out to stop it from entering Cletus's system. That's incredible to me. So in the comics, we've discussed this before, but I'll reiterate it for you here. Carnage is created because the Venom symbiote creates an offspring, a little tiny sliver of itself that it leaves behind. It's a complicated, different origin story, and basically they are cellmates. Cletus and Eddie Brock are cellmates in the comics. But anyways, maybe when Tom Hardy comes to visit him. So it infects Cletus, this little sliver of the symbiote, and the Venom symbiote doesn't. I guess the symbiotes don't care about their children like some animals, and so it doesn't keep track of it. It doesn't bother to tell Eddie Brock about it. But anyway, it bonds with Cletus's blood, and that's why of the red coloring and why it's so powerful. It's such a deep bond. But look, it saves his life, and decides, I guess, to go haywire. Maybe this moment of mortal threat is what snaps it awake. Maybe. And he's doing the shaking just like Tom Hardy did in the first movie. Remember when he was in, because of course sound, that's why Shriek is such a great villain or adversary for symbiote characters, because the sound, is one of the things that affects the symbiotes. So he's looks like the blood's being torn out of his body. That's really interesting. It's going to be really cool. So then we see this facility, which seems to be not Ravencroft, but some other new facility, and you see it's set ablaze, and you see two figures emerge. My guess is that's our new natural-born killers, or symbiote-born killers. Oh, she doesn't have a symbiote. We'll have to come up with a term for them. But I believe this is Carnage and Shriek. So cool! So Venom's like, I got to take care of it. Maybe he feels a responsibility because, it's his kid. So look, I guess Eddie Brock there, I guess he and Venom have lost their temper a little bit with Stephen Graham's detective. I'm sure he'll be fine. Now there's Shriek. You can see just a glimpse of her powers in her cell. Maybe she finds out that Cletus is supposed, my guess is says Cassidy there, Cletus Cassidy. Maybe he's supposed to be executed that day. And so she doesn't know that things are about to take a very strong turn in their favor. So she loses her temper and you get just a glimpse of her powers. Very cool. And then this looks like, maybe this is Ravencroft? But that looks like, it's so dark, it's hard to tell when it's Carnage and when it's Venom. There you can see some red. All right, so Carnage is taking out the helicopter. This looks like Alcatraz to me, though. Is it? I guess, why is there some orange suits and some blue suits for prison uniforms? Maybe it depends what level you're at. That looks like the warden there. And then we see these hands come in. And he's saying, there's going to be chaos. And they look really great. They look so yucky. It looks like almost like the actual flesh of Cletus has been, that doesn't even look like symbiote to me. Let's see what happens by the end of the movie. Upgrade? I wonder what Shriek will have to say about that. Although she seems like a lady who'll love her man no matter what. That'll be fun. I guess after Joker and Harley broke up, we need a new Bonnie and Clyde in the comic book world, right? That looks great. Carnage looks so, that shot saves the whole trailer. It's just beautiful. It looks right out of the comics. It's just the chaos of it. And again, they have such a strong bond, and Cletus embraces the symbiote, which is why he's so powerful. So Eddie and Venom are going to have to get along. They're going to have to do that duet if they want to win the day. And then we have Venom laced with red now. And it says, "Let there be carnage." Oh, we're excited. And then we have this funny gag about the chocolate hasn't come in. Carnage is very upset. I like this. I still can't get over that that's Tom Hardy's voice doing Carnage. He does a great job. I mean, Venom. And so then we have this great shot of, I think that's Venom, but it's hard to tell. I mean, it's like that's Carnage, but it's hard to tell because of the colors. It's so dark. But he's in front of a stained glass window, and I wonder if he and Shriek are going to make it official. Maybe that would be fantastic. Some kind of crazy wedding. But that looks great. That's very cool. The stained glass window is beautiful. But again, he's backlit. It's so hard to see what I'm looking at. Coming soon, only in movie theaters, but they're not willing to commit just yet to September. You know, they're tweeting out the September date, late September, but they're not willing to say it, you know, in print on the trailer. But also, it's in 3D. Talk about old school superhero movies. But would you see it in 3D? I don't know. It's so dark as it is already. I feel like I would never be able to see the movie. But IMAX would be cool. Is it going to be in 3D IMAX? Hopefully they'll have different, you know, that's a tall order to tell people they can only see it in theaters, but then a lot of the showings are going to be in 3D. I guess you're going to go for it, Sony. So what do you think? Will you see? I think a lot of people will see this movie in theaters. Will you see this in theaters? I think also September's pretty far off. I think they'll be good. So what do you think? What did you think of the trailer? What do you think of all the extras now that we've gone through it? Do you feel a little differently about the movie? Share your thoughts down below. Thanks for going over this with me. Subscribe today. And of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.